Okay. It would probably be easiest to compare graphic symbols and movie clips to show you what movie clips are like, because they will be the next symbol that we'll use. So let me start by creating a graphic symbol, and I'll start with a simple oval, and I'm going to fill it with a gradient, and I want to make it look a little round just for the heck of it. Okay. So right now this is what? It's not a symbol, it's just a shape, right? Because you see the selection mesh. And now what I can do is I can go to modify and convert to symbol. And I'll turn it into a graphic symbol. And we'll call it red ball. And now I'm going to go inside the symbol, inside that container, and I will animate it inside the symbol. Okay? I can animate it here. I can go from point A to point B. Why don't we do that? Okay? So you can see the difference. Remember that symbols can contain animation. You know, animation can be built inside the symbol, or externally the instance of the symbol can be animated as well. It depends on what you want to do. So, for example, if I want to go, I'm just going to go from point A to point B, from this point to this point. So if I click on frame 20, insert timeline, keyframe, it copies the last frame, and I move this one over, select a frame in between, or select all the frames in between, and I apply a tween. What kind of tween do I apply? Motion, because it's a symbol. Okay, it goes from point A to point B. Pretty straightforward, right? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring up my library, and I'm going to make a copy of this. So let's go ahead, and with a little flyout window, I can select duplicate, and we'll call it anim red ball. So this is going to be a red ball that is a graphic symbol, but it has animation built into it. Okay. Did everybody see what I did to copy that? Does anybody understand why I copied it? Because if I put the animation inside that red ball, it would also affect the instance of this as well. Okay. So now I'll go ahead and I'm going to add a new layer. Actually, I should probably name these. I'll name this one red ball 1, or maybe red. And maybe to distinguish it, I should probably, I'm going to go ahead and change the color of this in a minute. So this will be anim red ball, or anim ball. That's what we'll call that, animated ball. And to go inside the symbol, the easiest way to do it, you can do it from the library, and I can double click inside there. But my preferred way of doing that is to just double click on the instance on the stage. And when you do that, watch what happens. There's two little things that happen here. When I double click, notice that everything else grays out. The other thing is notice here, I'm no longer in the scene, I'm inside that container called anim red ball. And notice that it has its own timeline. Now watch, if I click back on the scene, notice how that's no longer grayed out. Notice that this is, I'm actually on the main timeline of the scene. As soon as when I double click, notice how it changes. It's a very subtle change. When you look right here, see where my mouse is? I'm no longer in the scene, I'm inside a container called anim red ball. And notice how this other instance of this other object now is grayed out, so that it's visible on stage, but it's not accessible at this time. So those are two things that you should notice. Okay, now I can go and do the same thing. I'm going to animate it inside here. So I'll insert timeline keyframe, and I'm going to move this over here, and I'll click a frame in between, and I'm going to go ahead and animate this. And I have to apply a tween. What kind of tween do I apply? And this is sort of a trick question. Look at what you're applying the tween to. Shape. You see the selection mesh? Even though I'm inside a graphic symbol, what I'm applying the tween to inside that container is a shape. So then I would use a shape tween. If you at any time apply the wrong tween, just stop, undo, and try the different one if you get confused. And the way it will tell you oftentimes is that it's incorrect is that instead of that solid arrow, you'll see the broken arrow, right? Now watch, I'll go back to the stage, and they look identical to one another. Now watch what happens when I play. Command. They do identically the same thing, but notice that the tween for the first one, the one up here, lies out here on the main timeline. The tween for the graphic symbol here is contained inside the symbol, and so on the main timeline you'll only have a keyframe, and the remainder of these are populated frames, and that's it. So it cleans up your timeline is what it does. Now when we switch now to movie clips, it will be even more apparent to how clean your timeline can become when you have when you have animation built inside it. And the reason I say that, and I'll say this now, is that right now, in order for this to play, if you recall from last week, in order for this animation to play in its entirety with a graphic symbol, I have to have the timeline inside that symbol is linked to the main timeline. So if I have 20 frames inside the symbol, I have to have at least 20 frames here in order for it to play through. And I'll show you how that is different from a movie clip in a minute. So what I'll do now is I'm going to select a green, and let's create a new layer here, and we'll call this one Animated Movie Clip. MC for short. Okay. I should probably lock these layers just to be on the safe side, and I'll go ahead and I'll create a little green ball here. Okay. When I select it, it's a shape. I'm going to go ahead and go to Modify, and I'll select Convert to Symbol, but this time I'm going to select a movie clip. Right. Movie clips timelines are independent of the main timeline. That's what distinguishes movie clips from graphic symbols. That's one of the things. It's independent. So I'll name this Anim MC, and it's a movie clip. And to look at the symbol, it looks the same. I mean, when you look on stage at the instance, you see that it's outlined in a little blue box, and it has a little crosshair. The only way you can tell that it is a movie clip is that when you select the instance and you look at the properties panel, it tells you it's a movie clip. You also see the icon that represents it. It's a little bit different. It's this little gear. Yes, you have a question?
Did you just drag that from your library?
No, I created a brand new one for on stage. And now I'm going to go inside the movie clip and I'm going to animate it just like I did the others. So I'll double click, and notice now I'm inside Anim MC. I'll select frame 20, insert timeline, add a keyframe, and I'll move this down. And again, when I apply a tween, look at what you're applying the tween to. Even though I'm inside a movie clip, I'm applying it to a shape. I could have a graphic symbol in here. I could have another movie clip in here. You could have any number of things inside here. The point is to watch exactly what you're applying the tween to. So I'm going to add a shape tween inside here. And we're going to go back to the main timeline. Now, this is when I play this, watch what happens. They all look identical. But this is what will distinguish the movie clip from the others. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select all of these frames, and I'm going to remove all of them. So I'll go to Edit, Timeline, and I'm going to remove frames. So now I have a one-frame movie. So what do you think is going to move? The movie clip. The movie clip will move because I said the movie clip's timeline is independent of the main timeline. So now when I play this, see, those don't move, but this one does. And now you can see the power of movie clips just for that one purpose, is that it will clean up your timeline significantly. You don't have to have all of those tweens and all those populated frames on the main timeline. You only need that one frame for that movie clip to play. That's one of the reasons. When we get to buttons on Thursday, there's a third type of symbol. If you want animated buttons, you need to use a movie clip in order to animate them. Movie clips are used for a whole bunch of things, though. The last project that we'll work on will be to do a slideshow. And in order to do that slideshow, you need buttons. That's one type of symbol. And we're also going to use these empty frames that are movie clips, and when you click on the button, it's going to take a picture and put it inside that frame, inside that container. So movie clips are used for all sorts of things, and they are the most powerful of the three symbols. So one of the things that we can do, remember I said last time, we could go ahead and we could apply and this is where it's going to get even more confusing, so pay attention here. What if we wanted in this movie clip, instead of following a straight line, we wanted it to follow a path? Okay? And we wanted that motion path built into it. So I can double click, and that takes me inside that symbol, right? Let's go ahead and let's add a motion guide. And inside there, and I'll use the pencil. And I'm just gonna, I'll start here and have it follow this like so. So it's just gonna follow that path. But for this to follow the path, what does it need to do? It has to be a symbol of some sort, doesn't it? Well, even though I'm inside a symbol, I can take this shape and I can convert this to a symbol too. So I have a symbol inside a symbol. You can nest them like the Russian doll. You can nest them one inside another inside another. And this is where you can really get lost. It's like Alice in Wonderland going down the rabbit hole. You know, if you're not careful, you know, you can lose your way, and you need to pay attention to these breadcrumbs so you can figure out what's going on. So now that I'm inside the symbol, I'll take this shape and I will convert it to a symbol. So I'm going to modify, convert to symbol, and I'll call this one green ball, and I'll just leave it as a graphic symbol. Okay, now notice that this is broken now. Anybody tell me why this is broken? Because at this end of the timeline, I have a shape, and I converted this keyframe to a symbol. So I just have to substitute at this end this keyframe. So I'll take this one and click and drag, and I'll hold down the Option key to copy it, and just drag it right on top. Let's see if I have here. Let's go ahead and move this over. And now I'm going to switch from, let me make sure that I have this right. Okay, I do. Instead of a shape tween, I'll switch and I'll use motion. And I'll go ahead from here at this keyframe, and I'll move this in place like so. And at this keyframe, I will make sure that that is in place. And let's see if it follows. It does. There we go. Now I'll go back onto my main timeline and look at it. It looks, see how clean all of this looks? And now when I play it, all of that animation is built into the MovieClip. Now, if you feel more comfortable at this point in time in working with Flash of leaving everything on your main timeline, then just do that. But later on, when you go to various websites and maybe you download projects that are available and they make them available to you, you'll look at the main timeline and there might be just but a couple of frames on there. You're going to say, what's going on? And you'll notice, oh, there are movie clips. And then you double click and you go inside the movie clip and then you see something. And then you double click inside that and you go, again, you keep going inside, 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 and you see all this complexity that's built into it. So, but on the main timeline, it looks very simple. No, I can go inside here and I can slow it down in here. And remember, it doesn't matter whether I'm inside the movie clip or I'm on the main timeline or where I am in this project. Remember, you can only have one frame rate. So the only way I can slow this down, especially if I have something else going on in the main timeline, is to simply stretch this out. This shouldn't be a shape. This should be a motion. There we go. Okay. So I can go ahead and I can select these two frames and just click and drag and pull it out. And then I can also, remember, we can ease in, ease out those features if you want. Let's go back to the main timeline and let's play it again. So that's how you have to slow it down. If I change the frame rate inside the movie clip, I've changed it on the main timeline as well. Even though the timelines are independent of one another, the frame rate for a project has to be set at the very beginning. Because if you change it later on, it impacts everything else. Okay, they're both animated, but notice that this one is not moving. And the reason this one isn't moving is because inside, let me unlock this one. Here's the anim ball. That when I go inside here, you can see the animation in here. But because this is a graphic symbol, notice the difference in the icon. Graphic symbols timelines are linked to the main timeline. So since there are 20 frames inside the graphic symbol, I need on my main timeline 20 frames. The only way this will play is to go ahead here and hit F5 to add frames. So this one, what did I do here? Okay, this one, forget this one, that's okay. See, so that one now plays because I put I have 20 populated frames on my main timeline. The first one isn't playing because, what did I do here? I messed it up is what I did. Let's unlock this, so let's go back here. That's a graphic symbol. I needed a keyframe down here because I animated it on the main timeline. in order for that to work. And I could do the same with this. I mean, I could also, on the main timeline, I could add keyframes here and have it move around as well. And again, the reason you might want to do this is that, I mean, I'm only animating one element, but if let's do this. Let me create a brand new project here. There used to have a project. It was a little, this isn't going to look that good, but that's okay. Let's make this a nice blue. And let's make this maybe it's my snowflake. What can I say? Okay? So we have a snowflake. And I want lots of snowflakes falling. Are you going to animate all of them? You know, each individual snowflake? Or would you just make one, make it as a movie clip, and then bring each individual instance of the movie clip onto the stage? That's the more efficient way to work. And that's what it's trying to get you to do, to be more efficient in that way. So now that I've made this shape on stage, I'll convert it to a movie clip. I'll animate the movie clip, and then I'll bring instances of that movie clip onto the stage. And with one frame, I can have all of this animation here. So let's go to Modify, Convert to Symbol, turn it into a movie clip, and we'll name it Snowflake. Okay, so now it is in fact a movie clip. And now I go inside the movie clip and I can animate it. So I'll double click and go inside. Let's use the 2 seconds so it's a little bit slow. So insert timeline keyframe. Okay. And now I'll take all of this. Actually, you know what would be better? I'm going to undo that. I'm going to go back here. And I'm going to convert this to a graphic symbol. It would be just easier to work instead of that shape. So modify, convert to symbol. I'll make it a graphic symbol just to be simple. I'll just name it Flake. There we go. And now I'll go to frame 40. Insert timeline keyframe. And now I'll move this down. Actually, let me zoom out a little bit. I'll move this so that it actually goes off the stage here. Okay. Now I click in between, and I add my tween. And what kind of tween do I want? Motion tween, right? So now it goes from here to here, like so. And I can have it fade. Remember, I can go ahead and I can select this keyframe, so maybe it fades over time. Let's add alpha so that disappears. Now let's go back to our main timeline and let's test it and see how it works. Okay, notice how it fades. Now let's bring up our library. Let's bring out a bunch of these. And some of these I can go ahead and we can change the size of them a little bit. And we could also change some other properties of these as well. Now let's go ahead and let's play this. Now why aren't the others playing? Because I probably pulled the wrong one out, didn't I? That's why. Never mind. Let's go to the library. I did. I brought out the graphic symbol, not the snowflake. This is the one I wanted. Okay, let's go ahead and reduce these a little bit. Now let's test it. Let's see. There we go. Okay. These are each of these now. This is the movie clip. Notice it's all in one frame. And what I did is I brought out an instance. These are copies from the library. And each of these instances, you can change its properties. You can change the size. You can change some color over time. I mean, I could select this and switch to color, tint. So we can, instead of that, maybe you can make a pink one. What the heck? Let's make this one another tint too. So this, instead of pink, let's make this sort of a light green. Let's change this one too. Let's change the tint of this one. Make this sort of a lavender. So they're all different colors now too. But again, I'm only changing the instance. I'm not changing the movie clip itself. So now when you play these.
Initially, you converted things to graphic symbols, correct?
Right. No. I initially converted, when I was inside the movie clip, I converted the shape to a graphic symbol. While it was on stage, I converted the shape to a movie clip, so that when I went inside the movie clip, I was modifying the movie clip.
And it's saved as separately in the library?
They are. Yep. That's why it was confusing for me, because I didn't pay attention. I have the flake, which is a graphic symbol, and I have the animated snowflake. This is a graphic symbol. This is a movie clip.
But it's really inside the snowflake.
It is, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. I mean, I could go back here, and let's add another layer here. Let's lock this one down. I can come back with my flake here, and I could bring individual just static elements out. Now these don't move. These are just static graphic symbols. So you can utilize those too.
Can you alter the timing within the same sequence? Like they're falling at different timing?
You would have to have separate, separate movie clips. Because remember that each one, you can only have one frame rate. So if you wanted them to fall at different rates, right now they're all falling at the same rate. I would have to have a movie clip for each. So each one is spanning a different time frame. So to do that, okay, let's do this. Let's come back here. Let me just clear this off. And let's unlock this, and let's clear this off. Let's bring my library back up. And to show you that we can have a separate rate, let me go ahead and take this movie clip and I'll duplicate it. So I have something that's essentially the same, but I will change inside that, I will change the timing of it. So one will be fast. Maybe I should make a couple of. One will be fast, one will be slower. So I'll go ahead and use this little flyout window, and I'll say duplicate. And we'll make this one snowflake slow, and the other one snowflake fast. Okay, so we'll just take the snowflake and we'll drag it out. So we have that one. And now we'll take this one, snowflake slow, and I'll drag it out. And right now they're identical to one another. I haven't changed anything, but if I double click in here, I can go ahead and take this one and I'll move this to 80. So this one takes twice as long as the other one. And then I'll go back to my library and let's take this one again and I'll duplicate it. And we'll make this one, Snowflake fast. Okay, and I'll drag one of these out. And I need to go inside. Wait a minute, I goofed. Let me undo. I have to, see, I'm not paying attention. I'm inside Snowflake slow. I have to go back to my main timeline. Let me test this and make sure that I'm doing this right. Yeah, see that's slow. And now I'll make one fast. So now I'm back on the main stage. Let's go to my library. Let's take this one out. See, I broke one of the cardinal rules. I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, and I was editing and making changes while I was inside the MovieClip. So now I can take this one. This is my Snowflake fast, and I'll just go ahead and move this. So this is half the rate. And I'll go ahead and remove these frames here. Edit, timeline, remove frames. So now I've just, this goes at the same, only half the rate, or the same distance and half the time. So now, so that's how you would create multiple. So you might create a few of different rates, and then you could change the size, change the color, and you only need a few symbols in order to do that.
You can also keep the same rate, and then to move it to it, or to copy it to a different frame so they fall, like stagger the starting time.
Well, we could do that. Right now I have them entered at the same point in time. What I could do on my main timeline then is just stagger them in time too. Right now they're all here at the same time, but maybe I could bring some others out. Here, let me go ahead and frame. So this will be a 40 frame animation. I'll go ahead and hit F5 here. And then I'll bring some out at frame 20. Okay, so I'll insert timeline, blank keyframe. So from, on this layer, from frame 1 to 20, it's blank, and then at frame 20, I bring some others out. So we'll go ahead and bring out my library, and we'll just bring out some more, like here, maybe. Okay, now let's make sure that this is here for the duration. So I hit F5. So at the end, they're all there. Now, if you wanted them to disappear, I could make a blank keyframe here, so these would disappear earlier. Now let's see how the others appear at that point in time. So when we get to buttons on Thursday, you'll see why the movie clips are important, because buttons also have a timeline when you go inside them, but there's only 4 frames inside the timeline. So in order to animate inside the timeline, you have to use a movie clip, because you only have 1 frame to do that, to create your animation. So it has to be built into the movie clip, to a movie clip. Now everything that we have animated so far, if I animate text, if I animate whatever, it's easiest if you ask yourself, what do I want to do and how long do I want it to take place? And then if you choose to use a graphic symbol instead of a movie clip, so what? that's fine. If you want to use a shape tween instead of a motion tween and just use shapes, that's fine too. But typically, shape tweens now are reserved more for morphs, so when one shape morphs into another. Motion tweens are used between keyframes where you have either movie clips or graphic symbols. And whether you want to use a graphic symbol or a movie clip is up to you, but it's important to understand the difference between them and what each of them does. I think it's more important that you come up with an idea for the project and say, this is what I want to happen, and do it. And if it's not elegant, if you look at it when you're done and say, gee, it would have been better if you used a movie clip instead of a graphic symbol, yeah, okay, but if it works, it works. And it's just through experience that you'll learn that, okay, I can refine and I can simplify and make my timeline more elegant by using different kinds of symbols and different techniques. That's all. But there's probably a dozen different ways of doing identically the same thing. Why have they done it this way? I don't have a clue. It's been this way forever, since the start of Flash. But more and more they have moved towards movie clips because they're the most powerful symbol, and because their timeline is independent, and because you can also apply ActionScript to movie clips, and you cannot apply ActionScript to the other symbols. You can to buttons with ActionScript 1 and 2, but in ActionScript 3, you can't do that.
This whole element that you have, where you have different instances of it coming at different frames in the timeline, could that also be compressed as a movie clip?
The whole thing could be a movie clip, yeah.
So
Oh yeah, you could put.
how do we do that?
It depends on how much you can your mind can comprehend and how much you can fit inside there. But oh yeah, you could put.
This one can be
Yeah.
compressed.
All of this could be compressed inside of a single movie clip. You can have a movie clip inside a movie clip, inside a movie clip, inside a movie clip. It can, you know, it depends on what you want to do.
So that you just have one instance.
Exactly. You would just have, this whole thing would be one instance. Did everybody understand that question? This whole thing could be put inside a movie clip. Let me try that. If I were to select, let me select all of these frames. And I'm going to go to Edit, Copy Frames. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and copy frames. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. Let's block these. Whoops. What am I doing here? I have to think a minute. To be efficient about it. Let me go back and remove these. Just to create a new layer here. And what I'm going to do inside this layer, I want to hide these just for the heck of it. And now what I'll do is bring open my library and let's bring out one of each. But while I'm in, what I'm going to do is while I have this one on stage and I have it selected, now this is a movie clip, but what I can do is modify, convert to symbol, and turn this into a movie clip. So I'll name this composite MC. Okay, so now I double click and I'm inside Composite MC, but this is still a MovieClip. And now while I'm inside that MovieClip, I can come in here and I can bring these other elements. So let's go ahead and bring out, because this, when I select this, says, it tells me what this is, instance of Snowflake. See down here on the properties panel? When you select that instance, it tells you what it is. So let's bring our library back up. And I'll bring this up and this one. Okay, so I have all of these elements in here. And now let's go back to the main scene. See how it's all combined into one? And I'm going to remove all of these other frames. Whoops. And I want to, since this is inside a MovieClip, I really don't need the rest of these either. So I'm going to remove these frames too, so you can see what's going on. Edit, timeline, remove frames. So I just have a single frame movie. Now I'll go ahead and apply it. So I could build and build and build, and you can have a whole snow scene inside a single MovieClip.
Or could you group the layers, actually build the individual MovieClip symbols and group the layers? So
You can do that. If you want, you could do that. Because remember, we have these other little, this little folder too. There's a folder that we can group layers, and I could have put all these layers inside that folder and name it and organize it. It depends on how comfortable you feel, working with these. Does everybody understand how to use the masks? And you can animate masks and put those inside MovieClips too if you want to. But to turn a shape into a mask, and then you can have elements underneath that are masked. No? Okay. Let me create a brand new file. Okie doke. So let me start with some text. Actually, I'm going to bring in an element. I'm going to go ahead and go File, Import, Stage. Here is the duck. Okay, so this is going to be in the background. And then on a layer on top of this. Why am I putting that there? Just to show you how the mask works. And then on top of this, I'll add some text. Make this black text. Okay. Now, I want a mask to go on top of this and to animate the mask so that you only see parts of this. It's like looking through a little window. So I'm going to go ahead and add a layer on top of this. And any shape you create can turn into a mask. It doesn't matter what it is. And even though it says it's, I'm calling it a mask, it's actually a window, and what it does is that shape becomes a window, and everything else around the shape is masked. So if I go ahead and I select this shape, and I'll make it different in color, just to distinguish it from the rest of everything else, I'll make it green, like so. This is going to be my mask. Now, you turn layers into masked layers, and other layers can be masked or regular layers. So by double clicking on this icon, notice that it says normal, guide, mask. I'm going to turn this into a mask. It doesn't look like anything has changed, but as soon as you lock all the layers, hold on here. What did I do? Oh, because these are not underneath it. When I go ahead and I right click and I look at properties here and I say that I want this to be masked, now watch what happens. And I select this one and I right click or I click on the icon and I say I want it to be masked. Notice that you only can see through that little dot. Now I can animate that dot. I can do as I did the other day, I can extend my timeline out, or I can turn the dot into a movie clip and I can animate the movie clip, can I? So it doesn't matter, whichever way. If you want to leave all the animation on the main timeline, fine by me. If you begin to feel more comfortable with working with symbols and cleaning up your timeline, then so much the better. So now what I can do is let's unlock this layer. Let's select this shape and I will modify, convert to symbol. And I'm going to show you what we've done today. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to convert it to a movie clip. Movie clip, and we'll call it Anim Mask. Okay. Now it doesn't look like anything any different. But as soon as I go inside here, I'm inside the movie clip. I'm inside the movie clip called Anim Mask. I can now animate this. So now I'll go to, and if I want to convert this to a symbol too, I can do that. I can leave this as a shape and animate it, or I can convert this to a graphic symbol, or I can convert it to another movie clip inside here. Why would you do that? I don't know. It's just a system that these guys have worked out. These 20-something guys have nothing else to do. And they are mostly guys that do this. That drink Coke, eat pizza, and code at night. And so let's go to frame 20, insert timeline, keyframe. Because I'm using shapes, I will, when I select in here, I'll use a shape tween for right now. And I want this to go back and forth. So I'll select all of these, move it, hold down the Option key to duplicate. And then with these, I will modify timeline and I will reverse frames so it goes back and forth. All right? Now remember, I'm inside the movie clip. Let's go back to the scene. Let's lock it down and notice how it's hidden. I mean, it is working. That mask is working, but on that mask layer, I have a movie clip. So let's go ahead, and I have a one-frame movie on 3 layers. Let's go ahead and hit Command Return, and it will crash. There we go. Oh, don't crash, please. Don't crash. Don't. No. There we go. Okay. This, I think, adequately explains or expresses why you want to use movie clips. Look at how elegant my main timeline is. And when you talk about elegant, you're talking about aesthetics, and it's making everything clean and tidy and nice and simplifying it and organizing it. Because I think, as some of you may have already experienced, that your timelines can get pretty messy pretty quick. And I think that's what they're trying to do, is that if you think about this, and sometimes you have to go backwards and say, wait a minute, it's the breadcrumb thing. It's Alice in Wonderland. It's like I went down the wrong rabbit hole. It works, but it doesn't look great. So let me back up. I grab the string and I go back out, and then I do it a little bit differently, and yeah, that cleans it up and that makes it look a little bit nicer.
Is this something where are you saying in the movie clip you can add the action script, so if you want it to go across and stop?
We can do that. If you want it to go across once, back and forth once, and then just stop, we can do that. Sure, I can put that inside the movie clip. If I put a stop an action script on my main timeline, it won't affect it because MovieClip's timeline are independent. So I would have to select the MovieClip, go inside it. Good habit is to add another layer for my action script. To apply action script to a frame, I need a keyframe. So I will insert timeline, keyframe, and it's a blank keyframe, doesn't matter. Bring up actions, right here. This is starting to get sluggish. And I just put in stop, and I put in left brace, right brace, and then semicolon. That's my stop action. Close it, and now it will only play once. Now we go back. That's it, plays once. Okay. Anytime you use symbols, it's actually, in terms of memory, it's more efficient. Because anytime you have one element in your library, and when you bring more of those onto stage, you're only bringing copies onto the stage, so it takes less memory. So that's another reason to use symbols as opposed to just work with shapes on stage, because you're just, with symbols, anytime you bring an element onto the stage, you're only bringing an instance of that symbol on the stage. An instance is a copy of it. So it's actually way more efficient memory-wise. Okay? Have I confused everybody? Try to not, necessarily use everything at the moment, but just think of a simple project for your banner ad. And I call it a banner ad, but you can use any one of the templates and incorporate some text so that and some images, and images meaning they don't have to be photographic. You can create everything from within Flash if you want. If you want to import images from Photoshop, you can. And you can have them move on stage, disappear, reappear. Again, use some of the basic ads that you see on the internet as a guide. Most of them are not pretty, but no, that's not the point. It's just to get a feel for having things take place over time. That's what we're doing here. I mean, this could be easily an Illustrator class where everybody is just drawing elements, but that's static. Now what we're doing is that these elements take place, they're moving over time. Even if they stay static, it's there over a period of time. Maybe it appears and it disappears, and that's it. Could be 80 frames, 100 frames, and that's just a few seconds. Work at 20 frames a second, and so, 4 or 5 seconds is a lot of time, actually.